Hopefully you all had a nice turkey day. I'm Dustin. Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk, your Week 13 waiver wire. In most leagues, this is the last week before the fantasy playoffs. You got to make sure you have your best lineup in. So we're going to go through some guys that I think can help you get into the playoffs. Before we get started, I rank these in order on how I would pick them up in 0.5 PPR. I shoot this before the Monday night game. And I always start with my pickup of the week, kind of the guy that I think is going to get the most attention, the most added out of all the guys, and that's brought to you by FanDuel. You know, if you're not doing so well in your season long, join some daily. Click on the link in the description. Sign up, deposit some money. It helps us out. And if you like season long, trust me, you will like daily. It's a lot of fun. So get in there. Click on the link in the description. Pick of the week this week is Josh Adams. I've been talking about him for a couple of weeks now. And it's just clear at this point that the Eagles are going toward Adams. I mean, he's the best runner. He's going to be their best goal line guy. You know, he's decent out of the backfield catching the ball. 22 carries last week. You got to be excited about that. Touchdown in each of the last 2 games. I think at the very least, he's a high upside flex play from here on out. Maybe even an RB2. And I do think the other guys will factor in. Sproles should be back at some point. But Adams, at this point, very hot pickup, only owned in 55% of leagues. Some other running backs, Austin Eckler. My condolences to all the Melvin Gordon owners out there. At least he got you a couple touchdowns before he got hurt. But Eckler, I don't think he will have the same workload as Gordon, but he will be very much involved, and he has a monster upside moving forward. The only reason I have Adams in front of him is because there's still a chance Gordon comes back right smack dab in the middle of the fantasy playoffs. So, you know, Eckler could just be, you know, a short-term solution for you. So that's why I got him where I got him. Gus Edwards, he has looked good over the last couple of weeks with him getting an extended look with Collins being hurt. This could very well turn into be, you know, nasty timeshare. Edwards could hold on to the job. We'll see what happens once Collins is 100% healthy, but Gus has shown us enough. He needs to be owned in more than 65% of leagues. And then Justin Jackson, I think he will also factor in with Melvin Gordon being out. He had 7 carries when they were just killing the clock in the second half of Week 12, but he looked good doing it. Justin Jackson, interesting guy to pick up in deeper leagues. Some other people want to talk about Hines with Indy. Mack got concussed Week 12. Keep an eye on the reports. If he ends up missing, Hines could be a decent short-term solution. And then when you're looking at your bench, you're through your buys. You're looking at your bench. You're looking at where you need to add value to your team. Don't forget about the hurt guys that should be back. We got Foreman, Burkhead, guys like Thomas or Sproles, Chris Thompson and Sproles in deeper leagues. Keep an eye out for those. And don't forget to handcuff as well. You know, if you got Elliott, Gurley, Fournette, Kareem Hunt, all those type of guys, they have decent handcuffs. Go out there, get them if you're just looking for a guy to add to your bench that can give your team value. You know, if those studs go down, the guys behind those 4 will have decent value. Let's move over to wide receiver, Adam Humphries. You know, he's always been kind of known as a PPR specialist, but that's kind of changing. 4 touchdowns in the last 5 games. I think it's time to start giving this guy a little bit more love. Only on 35% of leagues. I think that number needs to go up. Curtis Samuel for Carolina, they're getting creative with getting the ball in his hands. You know, if he's not doing it through the air, he's getting some rushing attempts. Only on 10% of leagues. I think he needs to be owned in more leagues as well. Robert Foster, undrafted rookie for the Bills, which their offense is starting to turn things around. So, you know, he's definitely someone that's interesting. You know, Josh Allen's healthy now. He's had 2 good games in a row. Foster, I think, needs to be owned in more leagues. And then Callaway with Cleveland. That offense has also been getting things going. 4 for 62 and a touchdown Week 12. He's got some speed. He's got some talent. He is certainly an interesting guy. You know, it's just another, you know, wide receiver 4 or 5 to add to your bench with some upside. I like him moving forward. Want to talk about Enunwa. You know, he got banged up earlier on in the year. Hasn't really been the same, but he's started to get things going. You know, he went for four catches for 73 yards in Week 12. You know, he was a big pickup earlier on in the year. You know, we'll see how that Jets team does down the stretch. But Enunwa, we know he can do it. We know he has some potential. So it might be time to pick him back up if he was dropped in your league. Bruce Ellington with Detroit. Marvin's out for the rest of the year. So another big blow on that Lions offense. Another big blow for Matthew Stafford. Ellington's going to get some more looks. Not super excited about him, but, you know, 12, 14 team leagues, it definitely puts him on the radar. And then also, don't forget about Brandon Marshall. Has yet to play for the Saints, but when he does come, when he is up to speed and out there, it could be interesting. I do think he'll be streaky, but I think, maybe wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5 value I think he could give you. And I do think he will have some touchdown potential each week. Quarterback, I'm going to keep talking about him until he gets picked up in more leagues, but Dak had another big game. Only on 50% of leagues, a rushing touchdown in 5 of his last 6 games. And I think people aren't giving that stat enough credit. I mean, you look at his passing stats, okay, no games over 300 yards, but you throw in a rushing touchdown and maybe 20 rushing yards, that's a big bump in your fantasy value. Dak, great matchup against the Saints this week. It's time to start respecting him as a QB1 down the stretch. Baker Mayfield, this guy's been going crazy as of late as well, getting things going only on 60% of leagues. 2 or more touchdowns in the last 5 games, in each of the last 5 games. Cleveland's figured it out. They're looking good. They're an exciting young team. And at this point, you got to start maybe comparing them to the Rams a couple years ago. It seems like they're getting some pieces together. Very young team. Interesting talent on that Browns offense, and Mayfield has certainly looked good. Lamar Jackson, I want to talk about with Baltimore. We'll see what happens with Flacco coming back, but Jackson, 2 straight wins. He's got them right back in the playoff hunt. I'd be surprised if they go 100% back to Flacco. And because of what Jackson can do with his legs, it definitely puts him on the fantasy map. So, I don't know. Add him to your bench. Any type of 2 QB league, obviously he needs to be owned. But I think he does have some sneaky upside if Baltimore just, says, sorry, Flacco, we're going with the young guy. And then Josh Allen, don't forget about him either. He's got some wheels. He is quick out there. And those rushing stats, they add up real quick in terms of fantasy points. So Josh Allen, I don't mind in deeper leagues. Tight end Everett for the Rams. He's benefited a lot from the Cup injury. He would have been picked up in a lot more leagues if it wasn't for his bye week 12. But he has 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games. Only 10% owned. That number needs to skyrocket. Obviously with Doyle banged up and Gronk battling injuries, Jimmy Graham getting limited snaps. Everett could be a solid tight end down the stretch. And then Chris Herndon hasn't been finding the end zone as of late, but he's been getting targets. He's been getting a lot of catches. PPR leagues, I like him a little bit more. But Herndon for the Jets is interesting if you're looking for a tight end. A couple pick up and play defenses for you. Kansas City, only on 40% of leagues. They're at Oakland. They gave up a ton of points to the Rams, but they still found a way to have a decent fantasy week. So, I mean, it's... they might give up some points to Oakland, but you got to like that matchup. You got to think they're going to score some fantasy points in that one. And then Green Bay going up against Arizona. That Arizona offense still is not that scary. I mean, Johnson has looked a little bit better, since they switched offensive coordinators, but I'm not that worried about them. Green Bay at home, they've been not looking that good. I feel like Green Bay is going to be hungry in this one. They're going to want to win at home. I think Green Bay, 40% owned. I think they're a solid pick up and play defense for week 13. So that's it. Hopefully y'all's teams are getting ready for the playoffs. If you got questions that you want to get answered on Josh's Flex Show later in the week, put them in the comments of this video. He pulls the questions straight from this video. Brent and I will be back later this week as well, and good luck on the wire.